so thankful. You all are so kind, and I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to perform. The truth is, I'm not a comedian. I'm a storyteller with a little splash of laughter. So, but I decided to invade the comedian space because I have things to say, and I'm going to say what I want to say. Which brings me into what we'll talk about today. So I'm going to tell you a couple of jokes, but I want to share something that I was inspired to write as a result of everything that I've gotten out of this conference up to this point. And honestly, I must say, this has been one of the absolute best trainings I've ever been to in my entire professional career, which is more than 20 years. Yes. So, and in Arkansas. In Arkansas. And so for those of you who, Arkansas, what are you saying about Arkansas? You know what I'm saying about Arkansas if you're from Arkansas. Right. Let's not play any games. So, you know, my family is from the east side of the state, a little town called Tyronza. Does anybody know where that is?
Yeah.
Tucked over in Martree.
Right next
like
to
Martree and Tyronza are like next a house next to. It's real crazy. But anyway, and so I spent years coming down here. I was born and raised in Detroit. We spent every summer coming, chasing chickens and roosters and doing all kind of fun stuff you do on the farm. But I said I was never gonna live here. I mean, never. Not never. Arkansas was it was too racial for me. Then when I got here last year, I thought I was passing through. The police officer pulled me over. He gave me a noose and a Confederate flag, said, "Watch yourself, girl, and keep going." Okay, welcome to Arkansas. Welcome to Arkansas. That's a joke. That did not really happen. But if any of you all know the city of Wynn. Okay. So I have a 16-year-old daughter who's at Central High right now.
Yay.
And so when we had to enroll her into the city of Wynn High School, well, that was a shock for both of us. I think the second day she experienced the teacher made some type of racial comment, and we just weren't used to that. And my daughter, unlike me, I grew up in segregated Detroit, so I didn't know racism until I got to college. I'll tell you about that. But my daughter has grown up in probably majority white environments, but where the people, well, they would conceal their feelings, I guess. But when we got to Wynn, it was something different. It was in your face. And so, after the second incident, I said, okay, I'm going to go to the school district. I'm going to go and voice my concerns. And they're going to do something about it. Well, I contacted the school district. I found out that the principal, the superintendent, he said, oh, Miss Brown, the lady who talks funny. Talks funny. Ooh, talks funny. What does he mean? Oh, are they calling me a uppity Negro? I mean, come on. This is 2018. He said I talk funny. Like maybe he thought I was an immigrant. I don't know. But the point is, he knew that I was not from here. And lady, you are not welcome with your assertions. Don't come down here telling us what to do. If your daughter's going to be in this school, she's going to play by the rules. And the rules are punishment. She go to the bathroom, come back late, she's getting detention. Detention? No, not my daughter. No, she's not getting detention. Yeah. So they said, do you think she's not supposed to follow the rules? No, it's not that I don't think she should follow the rules, but I think the rules are wrong. Okay, this is a problem. This was not okay and weird. So anyway, I'm sure they're glad we left in a few months. So we left and came here. So then I get over here, and black people, white people, they say, what do you think about the racism? Whoa, you know you're in someplace different when people admit that racism is alive and well. So I said, what do you think about the racism? Oh, I guess they are right. I grew up in Detroit, where, you know, I grew up in Detroit, so racism growing up, I did not experience per se. So when I got to college, though, at Central Michigan University, so I'm moving in the dorm, and one of the parents, white parents, said, oh my God, those people are moving in. Those people. So I thought, who are those people? So I white parents say, girl, those people are you. Me? Yes, I'm sorry we didn't tell you. We didn't tell you. You have crossed 8 Mile. I went way across 8 Mile, for those of you that know 8 Mile. So, anyway, so that's a little funny for you, though. But this is what I want to share that I hope will help each of us go from here and really take everything that we've got. You know, I went to law school to do civil rights work. I have always been the kind of person that would do what I wanted to do. And remember, I told you I was raised with great-grandmother who was from Tyronza, Arkansas, and she was born in 1909. And seriously, she could not imagine this. In fact, she really thought the only thing I could do was to get a husband. And get a husband, and then life will be good for you. But anything else, no ma'am. So when I got ready to go to college, she said, well, if you're going to college, you better figure it out. You're on your own. Okay, I did. And fortunately for me, you all can see the scar on my face. I was burned at 6 months old, so that's why I ended up in great-grandmother's custody and not my mother and father. But this worked out for me. The pain that this caused me ended up really being a blessing. Because when I got to college, my grandmother wasn't going to sign a loan, a grant, or anything. Well, the good white folks at Central Michigan University in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, dug into my background a little bit further and found out that I was an orphan. And as a result of me being an orphan, that meant that I was emancipated at 18. So I didn't need grandma. Very good. So, like I said, after they dropped me off and everything was clear, those people, we figured out that I was one of those people, okay, those people that were going to be staying, they gave me $20. And I never looked back. And that was very different from my family, because my family, most didn't venture far from the family. So if the family didn't support you, then they didn't do it. Me, on the other hand, they didn't support me. I said, okay, I'll figure out. So that's what I did. And great-grandmother died just before I finished my undergraduate degree. And at that time, I wanted to be a sports agent. And so I was moving to New York City, dreaming again. And of course, my family thought, this girl is crazy. How are you gonna go to New York? Who do you know there? I didn't know anybody but God. So I actually ended up working for NBC. And I went there without having had the interview. I just knew that I was going to get the job. And I got the job. Then when I got the job, I was hired by this little bitty Hispanic lady, Anna Carbonell, who's my dear friend today. And this lady believed in this little black girl from Detroit so much that she would send me out. I ended up in public affairs. And she'd say, kid, don't tell them you're the intern. Tell them you're the assistant director. Okay? And so everybody that no, I'm not kidding. And because I had my own office and a phone number, so she'd say, well, tell them you left your cards, you didn't have any business cards, but you can give them your number. And Governor Pataki was the governor at that time, Giuliani was the mayor. I got to work with any and everybody politically, entertainment-wise, because this lady believed in me so much, and she would push me out. So my experience, one, working with women, has always been great. I don't know, I've never had a woman boss till I got to Arkansas. I'm just joking. Just joking. But really, I mean, white, black, female, I've been very fortunate. So my experience growing up in a segregated city, but traveling so far from that, has made me a very different person, a whole person. Maybe the person that I really was born and I didn't know, so I'm kind of finding myself, right? I kind of found myself. So anyway, long and short, after leaving New York, and I left there because at that time, this is 1998, 1999, there was not a job at NBC, and the jobs that were available were paying $15,000 and $20,000, and I just could not see that. Plus, I was living in Brooklyn Heights, Henry Street, for any of you who have ever been to New York City, 3 blocks from the boardwalk. So this is prime real estate. So now you're telling me I'm going to have to go and live in the slums? No, I'm not doing that. So I went back to Detroit. So I went back to Detroit. I started working at Ford Motor Company, which actually I started at Chrysler before I obtained my undergraduate degree. So from there, I had it in my mind, I was definitely going to work for myself. Now, I'm just a dreamer. I come from poor people, much like Maria. Poor people. And even though I didn't necessarily grow up in a house of dirt floors or whatever, and I had more than the average, I came from people who could not imagine much further than their face, okay? So, anyway, I decided to leave Ford Motor Company with a young child. My daughter was 1 year old. I'm gonna quit the job. Yeah, quit. And go back to graduate school and then go to law school. And I had this plan. I'm gonna work for myself and do all these great things and make a ton of money. Although I wanna help people. That didn't happen. That did not happen. I graduated in 2009. We were still severely affected by this recession, which I didn't think would affect me. But the truth of the matter is, God had a completely different purpose for me. That was the thing. I graduated in May, and by October, I heard the Holy Spirit say, I want you to write my word and make it plain. I thought, now you've got to be kidding. You have got to be kidding. I just went to law school. I am not going to do ministry work. No. Well, the good Lord said, okay, we'll see. So, what happens? Finally, 2010, I moved to Texas. 2011, I sit for the Texas bar. I failed the Texas bar. And I failed the bar in the worst kind of way. It didn't make sense. Well, but I guess to the good Lord it did, because I told you not to do this anyway. I told you to do something else. Okay, so the next month, December of 2011, a girlfriend of mine said, hey, you know, the Holy Spirit told me to tell you to write, make an acronym out of girlfriends and write a book. And girlfriends, because great-grandmother always referred to women as girlfriends. So I refer to women as girlfriends. So I said, really? Yeah, okay. So I prayed about it. And the words that came to me, God-fearing, intelligent, resilient, loving, faithful, reliable, influential, enthusiastic, noble, diligent, and spiritual. Okay, this is nice. What am I supposed to do with this? Well, I believe that was God's way of, first of all, telling me who I am and who I wasn't. You see, because up to that point, I was identifying myself by my achievements, by my degrees, my money, my status, my jobs, okay? But the truth is, that's not who you are. That's what you do. And so God was saying, first of all, to Renee Brown, you are, if you would just submit and surrender to me, you are a God-fearing, intelligent, resilient, loving, faithful, reliable, influential, enthusiastic, noble, and diligent spiritual woman of God. Well, as you people can see, it would take me several more years because I was not. That's when I found out. I was full of so much fear. I thought I had so much faith. I really was living in contradiction, just like I explained to you all about the homosexual, or the gay, my family, and not necessarily receiving people. I was saying one thing, but I was doing something else. So now, today, I am truly one of God's girlfriends. And I have finally committed my life to serve God for the rest of my life. And what I believe is everything is about character, period. And that's what girlfriends is about, character. And by the way, the guys can be girlfriends too, because as you know, those virtues are gender neutral. It has really nothing to do with gender. That was just a nice way to talk to women. But, so this is what I want to share that I wrote, and I do acronyms a lot. Character. That's what I'm taking away from everything that we've learned for these last 4 days. Everything really is about character. You can't do this job or any job, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, a sexual assault advocate, a victim services organization. Everything is about character. It's who you are. And the more you know who you are, then you'll do your job regardless to who you come in contact with, whether they're transgender, whether they're Mexican, immigrant, black, poor, rich, you will treat them the same because of who you are. So, character, compassion, humility, attentive, reliable, astute, conscientious, thankful, enthusiastic, and resilient. That's what it means to have character. That's what it means to be a person of character. And so I hope that sharing this does something for you as it did for me just to write it. And what I just want to say that don't beat yourself up if you're not all the way there, because this is not something that you get to and say, oh, I got it. No, you continue to evolve as long as you live. So it's no judgment. I mean, even me, myself, I still yell in the car, yes. Oh my God, I have a problem. I do. I mean, you know, I still get upset sometimes when people cut me off, but I'm a lot better than I used to be. I'm trying to be vegan. I'm addicted to chicken. Fighting chicken. Yeah, there should be a Chicken Anonymous or something. Because, I mean, really, I can't stop eating chicken. So, you know, again, it's not about being perfect, but it is about a willingness to be perfected. And something else I want to say, because when I said God-fearing, so I want to be clear here, because you don't have to be Christian, or even for that matter, you could be atheist. What that's really saying is whatever you believe in, be clear on what that is, and let that be the driving force of your life, period. So you don't have to believe in the Christian God, but whatever you believe in, let that drive you. Let that dictate what you speak, the way you act, and let that be the thing that checks you, to put you back in perspective. So you understand that it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much status you get. If you don't have character, you really don't have anything. And those are just my thoughts. So thank you.
Renee. Thank you.